I better.
So how you doing, man? How's camp going and how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling boss, to be honest. Camp's going very well. Um, this is like obviously the biggest fight in my career, and then where I am in terms of no injuries, fit as ever, sharp as ever. Sparring's been going good. S&C's been going good. So it's all come together nicely for the biggest fight in my career. I feel like everything's gone smooth and pretty perfect, to be honest.
Awesome. In an interview I watched, you talked about this being pretty much your biggest camp of your retiring career. Do you still stand by that, or has there been other fights that have kind of been bigger to lead you to a title fight?
I think, to be honest with you, every fight is the next biggest fight in your career. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the one that's right in front of you. This is definitely bigger than any fight though, because it's for a title. It's my first professional title, and obviously it's the Cage Warriors Bantamweight belt, which is quite a prestigious title to get. I think pretty much everyone who wins that title goes on to the UFC and does big things afterwards. So this is without a doubt the biggest fight in my career so far.
Help me understand. I don't know if you would know as much as I do, but wasn't there a current champion and there was a fight booked together and then something happened, something fell apart? What exactly happened there?
Yeah, there was no fight book, but basically, a guy called Jack Cartwright was the champ at my weight class. So let me just put me on my phone on do not disturb because I'm getting some notifications. Uh, yeah, so Jack Cartwright was the champ, and then I don't know. His last fight was a bit of a weird one. His opponent got disqualified, so Cartwright won. Uh, and then we just didn't hear anything from him for a while. And then he's I think that was the last fight on his Cage Warriors contract. So he's decided to not re-sign with the organization. I don't know if he's going on to the UFC or he's going to Bellator or anything like that, but he decided not to re-sign. So the belt become vacant. And then obviously I was the next contender in line. So they've matched me up with Dominic Wooding now instead for the vacant title. But for me, the opponent doesn't matter. All I'm focused on is winning that Cage Warriors belt. That's like it's been a big goal in my career since I got into MMA professionally. So I'm just excited to be fighting for the belt, to be honest.
Sometimes when there's always a champion in a division, they always say you can't become champion until you be the champion. Do you feel any bit of that since you are fighting for a vacant title?
Not really, no, to be honest. Because I was next in line. I would have fought Cartwright. Do you know what I mean? He's the one who vacated the title. It's not like I've avoided the fight with him.
Right.
But especially in a promotion like Cage Warriors, it's kind of where people go to progress on to the next stage in the career. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like a proving ground for the UFC. So for me, I'm not really too fussed about who the Cage Warriors champion is. I just want to win that belt because it's the next step after that is getting signed to the UFC, which is ultimately that's where I want to be. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, nothing like that really is in my mind, to be honest.
And that being said, in your previous fight, you kind of came out unscathed. I mean, first round knockout. Is that pretty much the perfect scenario for any fighter, knowing that you're good to go? And I mean, even if you have a fight camp as you said you are in one right now, that pretty much helps you stay healthy for your next camp, which is for this fight.
Yeah, 100%. That's an ideal scenario. My last fight was about 12 weeks ago, and I was back in the gym the Monday morning after my fight. Genuinely, you can ask the lads in the gym. Do you know what I mean? I was straight back in. Um, so I've got a solid 12 weeks of training out for this fight now, which is ideal because this is the biggest fight of my career so far. In previous fights where I've maybe taken a few bumps and bruises in the fight, you try and get back to training sooner because you're just eager to get back in the gym. But there's a couple of injuries you've got to nurse and stuff like that, so you can't get 100% training out. Whereas this time, I literally come out of the fight, not a mark on me, not even as much as a bruised shin from kicking him. I literally didn't take any damage. So I was straight back into 100% training, back in my routine. So I've just kind of like taken everything from that last camp and then built on it over the last 12 weeks. And now I'm an even more polished version of myself going into this fight. So I feel better than ever.
Yeah, because it really sounds like everything's really coming together for this fight, and I think that's a perfect scenario. Not just for just a simple fight, but for a title. A very important fight that can definitely determine whether you can go up and get signed by UFC, wherever you decide to go, or you just want to defend your title. Either way, it's just a perfect scenario, and you don't have anything that's kind of stopping you on the sideline. You don't have anything like having to worry about, oh, do I have to get injured? And you can spar, and you don't have to worry about getting hurt as much as you previously might.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. It's literally, I've been lucky in a sense because you can't, with fight camps, they're so tough on the body that normally something comes up. Do you know what I mean? Most of the fights I've gone into, especially in my pro career, I've had a little knock going in, or something's not quite been right, or I've got ill at the end of camp, just where I'm run down and overtrained. Whereas this one, I've had no hiccups whatsoever. It's been a perfect 12 weeks of training. I've periodized my camp perfectly. I feel fitter than ever, sharper than ever. I did my last hard workout yesterday, and it was the best I've ever felt. So timing wise, like I say, everything's just gone perfect. I really couldn't have asked for a better camp, and what a time to have that camp for obviously my title fight. So things are going well, and I'm going to put on a dominant performance next Thursday, and I cannot wait.
And we're just almost about a week out. So, your fight with Dom Wooding on the 30th at Cage Warriors 127. Looking at the matchup with Wooding, no disrespect to Wooding because he's a beast and a great guy to chat with. But he's 1-3 in his last 3 fights. Were you kind of surprised by the matchup that they gave you, the opponent that they gave you, or did you feel like they were going to give you maybe another guy that was maybe more 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 like yourself?
Yeah, I mean, initially I thought I'd be fighting Jack Cartwright. Do you know what I mean? After my last fight, I thought I'd be fighting the champ. And then I found out a few weeks after he was going to go on to a different organization or whatever. He wasn't going to defend the belt. So then I kind of had a bit of an inkling that it was going to be Wooding just because of his last performance on Cage Warriors. He looked good. And like the bantamweight division at the minute, there's not many contenders. I've kind of taken out the other two guys. Martin Yoni was up there. I beat him in my 5th pro fight. Brian Booland was probably, to be honest with you, Brian Booland would have been a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Would have been a more, not challenging fight, because obviously I dispatched of him easily, but it would have been made more sense to fight him for the vacant belt rather than Wooding in terms of the records and stuff like that. Like Booland's won a lot of fights on Cage Warriors, whereas Wooding's only had one. But yeah, I kind of did think it would be him, to be honest, just based off he fought on the same card as me last time. He had a good performance, and like I said, there wasn't really anybody else. So I had an idea in my head that it would be him. But again, it's a little bit, I know what you're saying, like he's 1-2, 1-3 or whatever in his last 4 fights, and now he's fighting for the belt. It's a bit of a mad one, but it doesn't really affect me, to be honest, because I'm going to go and beat him anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Fair enough. And not to harp on his career too much, but that being said, with his record, do you feel that there's actually more pressure on him, or is there more pressure on you, the fact that you have to stay undefeated?
To be honest, I think there's probably more pressure on me. I'm kind of like the Cage Warriors man. Do you know what I mean? My whole career's been on Cage Warriors from like pro debut up until now. I've been built up nicely and progressed through the ranks on Cage Warriors. So people have always known that I was going to be fighting for the belt. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like there probably is more pressure on me, but I thrive under pressure, like 100%. I want the most pressure situation as possible because ultimately I want to be the best in the world one day. Do you know what I mean? I want to go to the UFC and fight for the UFC world title. So the more pressure experiences I can be in now and put myself under, the better that's going to prepare me for my future. And in my future, I see 100% fighting for world titles and stuff like that in the UFC. So I welcome all that pressure right now.
Before I get to my next part, talking about your fight, you brought up a really good point about you wanting to be a UFC champion one day, and that mindset you really carry with yourself. Looking at guys, the guy from Wales, obviously your teammate Paddy, who just made his debut a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of good guys that have travel from UK to the UFC, and they've all become champions in some kind of weight class, and they've successfully transitioned to UFC. Do you think the biggest thing, and a lot of things I see with them, is the mindset? Do you think that's one of the most important things going into your career?
Yeah, 100%. I think fighting especially is one of those sports. So I think in anything in life, your mindset is the most important thing. If you want to be successful, you've got to have the right mind and the right work ethic to go with it. But especially fighting, because it's mentally very draining and it's a tough sport. And it can be a lonely sport at times. And, you're getting in there yourself. You've got no team to rely on. Obviously, you've got, the lads in the gym and stuff like that. But on fight night, it's you in the cage with your opponent. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of the time, it comes down to who's mentally tougher and who wants it more, who's going to win on the night. And I pride myself on my mental strength. It's something that I've been working on for the last 5 years, really. And I'm not an idiot. I know that just like your fitness and your strength and your skill set, your mind can also be built on it, and you need to put time into developing your mental strength. So I put a lot of time into mental training, and I like to think that there's not many people out there mentally tougher than me. And I think that's why I'm going to be a champion in Cage Warriors, and I'm going to go on to be a champion in the UFC as well, because I've got the mindset for it.
To kind of elaborate on what you're saying, looking into your career, every pro fight, it's been a finish. How is that any different in this fight?
It's not. I'm going to finish him as well, 100%. Like, that's the way I fight. Is obviously I'm a grappler, so I'm not saying like I'm going out there vicious trying to knock everybody out and finish everybody, but I definitely push a pace, and I'm looking to finish everybody a fight. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd be happy if I won the belt off the decision. Yeah, I'm just asked about winning the belt. But realistically, going in there, I want to be finishing everyone I'm facing, especially at this early level in my career, because if I am who I say I am, and I'm going to be the best in the world one day, I should be finishing these guys at this level. Do you know what I mean? So I'm looking to do the same thing next Thursday night that I've done in all my pro fights. Go out there, put a pace on them, implement my game plan, break them, and get another finish. And then I'll be 7-0 with 7 finishes and a Cage Warriors Bantamweight title. And that's a pretty impressive resume going forward. So I think I'll be on the UFC's radar after next Thursday night.
Well, and I think it's important to understand that obviously not every fight goes the way you want it to, but when you have that kind of resume and you're showing higher organizations like UFC, showing them that, hey, I'm not just a champion that can win by decision. I'm a champion that's knocking guys out. It really shows. I think it raises your stock, and it raises the fact that you're ready for that next level game, and that's where you want to be.
100%. That's like what I said before. Like, no disrespect to anybody on Cage Warriors, but obviously the level's slightly lower than what it is when you get to the UFC. That's the big league. Do you know what I mean? That's where all the best in the world are. So in my mind, I'm telling myself I should be finishing all these guys if I want to compete with the best in the world. And I see myself competing with the best in the world in the next few years. So I've just got to keep finishing everyone, and then I'll get there eventually.
And I know you're very confident in your skills, but is there anything that Dom brings in his fight that you are tending to watch for?
Obviously he's a good striker. He's a southpaw, so that's always a little bit different. But one of my main training partners, Liam Malloy, is a featherweight and a really skilled southpaw striker. In my opinion, he's the best southpaw striker in UK MMA. And I train with him every day. I spar him twice a week. I've done all my rounds with him this camp. So I've prepared very well for that style of opponent. And I think my style and my pressure and everything that I'm going to bring is going to match up very well against that. So I'm excited to get in there and put on a very dominant performance against him.
You talked about training with a guy that's in a higher weight class than you. Now, I don't know what you walk around and weight, but do you feel like there is an advantage training with people that have more weight on you, or do you think that can be a problem, especially if you're, taking that damage in fight camp?
Yeah, I think it's an advantage, especially in my scenario, because Liam he's always in shape. So he probably walks around about 73, 74 kilo, and I walk around about 70 kilo. So there's not too much difference in our actual weight anyway. We're both lean at those weights as well, though. So I'm a lean 70 key normal walk around, and he's lean 73, 74 kilo. So it's perfect for me because he's that little bit more athletic than the guys my size. He's a little bit stronger. He's just as quick. So I know that if I'm keeping up with him and sparring him week in, week out, when I come to fight somebody my size, it's going to be a whole lot easier. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's definitely a lot of benefits to training. Like, obviously, I'm not going to go and train with like a bunch of welterweights and middleweights. I don't think there's any point in doing that. But we're bantam and feather. Like I said, there's not much 3 or 4 kilo in it when we're walking around. So it works out perfectly for me.
Some of your teammates, and I just want to talk about Cage Warriors for a second. Some of your teammates from Next Gen, I mean, I think a lot of them have been able to have a lot of majority of their career so far in Cage Warriors, and then they've been able to transition to UFC. I mean, how fortunate are you to be able to fight for such a great UK organization like Cage Warriors?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I can't say it enough, to be honest. Cage Warriors have really helped me progress in my career, and they've given me the best platform in Europe, in my opinion. They are definitely the premier promotion in European MMA, and the perfect place to be if you want to get onto the UFC. All my teammates have come through Cage Warriors. We've got a very good relationship with Graham Boylan, who is the president of Cage Warriors. So a lot of our fighters pretty much do all the pro career on Cage Warriors. Like I started with Cage Warriors, my first pro fight, and not a lot of other gyms will do that. You see a lot of guys, they have to get to like 3-4 fights before Cage Warriors will sign them. But just down to our good relationship with the promotion, I think, I got signed straight away, and I've been fortunate to have all my pro fights on Cage Warriors. So yeah, I'm very lucky. But obviously I make the best of that situation. I've been given the platform, but I've made the most of it. I've still finished everyone they've given me. And that's another thing, starting out with Cage Warriors, you don't get any easy fights. I wasn't, one of those pros who turned pro and had 3 or 4 fights against journeymen to build my record up. I turned pro and the first guy I fought was 4-0. So I've been fighting legitimate competition for the last 6 fights. And I just think that's prepared me even better for when I do get into the UFC. I've been facing top level competition in Europe. So the next logical step is world-class competition.
Excellent. Looking back a couple of weeks ago with UFC Vegas 36, a few of your teammates got to perform. A couple other Liverpool athletes got to perform. I assume you got to watch the fights, but what was your feeling, like the feeling being able to watch all your teammates just steal the show of that night?
Yeah, that literally is what happened. It was a next-gen takeover. And it was so motivating to see and inspiring. Like, I know what they go through in fight camp. I know the work they put in, Paddy and Molly. And to see them go out there, Molly's fight especially, where she had to dig deep, and you could tell she wanted it more than her opponent. Do you know what I mean? So that in itself is inspirational. And then seeing Paddy blow up the way he has. And they both got 50K bonuses. Like, that's just all great things happening to my teammates. Do you know what I mean? Which I know they deserve. And for me, seeing that, that's just like a little indication of what's in the near future for me. So it just motivates me even more and keeps me wanting to keep pushing on, because I can see the pathway. Do you know what I mean? I'm in the gym day in, day out with them training, and it's starting to pay off for them now. So I know if I just keep doing the same things that I'm doing in next gen, it's going to start paying off for me too pretty soon. So very exciting.
Awesome. And I think next gen really put their name out there that night. They really made next gen what it actually is, the next generation of fighters.
100%, yeah. Like I said, it was a next gen takeover, that show. Sorry, got a bit of a tickly throat then. But yeah, we literally stole the show. Obviously, Molly was on the prelims. Paddy was the first fight on the main card. But if you look on the sort of social media response afterwards, they're the 2 biggest names of the night. Paddy's absolutely blown up. He's got more followers now on social media than most of the UFC roster, and he's had 1 fight. Do you know what I mean? So that just shows how big he's gotten and how much of a big performance that was. So very exciting times to be coming out of UK MMA, but also to be coming out of my gym, especially next gen. We're going to be making waves over the next 5 years in the UFC. I think off the back of Paddy's hype, especially now, a load of us are going to be getting signed. And we've got some exciting prospects coming through. Myself, obviously, my teammate Liam Malloy spoke about before, Adam Cullen, Adam Wilson, Liam Gittins. These are all guys that are around the same level in their careers that I am. And I think we're all going to be getting signed in the next 5 years, definitely, and taking over that UFC.
Like, what is it about next gen? Like, what has made these fighters so successful coming out of that gym?
I think it's down to the coaches, to be honest. Paul Rimmer's our head coach, and Ellis Hampson also one of our head MMA coaches. And then you've got Simon Audley there as well, who's our Thai boxing coach. Just that trio works very well. And the sort of, it's hard to explain, but I just feel like we're always practicing the right stuff. That they seem to know exactly what works and what wins fights. So we've got a very structured system of training, and we go over very high percentage ways of finishing fights, and that's why you see most of our fights now are going out there and getting finishes. So yeah, I think it's all down to the coaching, and then obviously the work ethic of the lads. We all turn up every day and put it in. There's no one coming in, and obviously we have a joke and a laugh and stuff like that, and we're all mates. But when we're on the mat for those 2 hours every morning, it's like hard work, 100%, and everyone's pushing each other, and we're all bringing each other on week by week. So just a great atmosphere, and like I said, great coaching staff and stuff like that. So it's all just blends together perfectly, and then the results obviously you're seeing now with all the wins that we're getting and all the success we're having.
And you're only 23 years old, and you're so young in the sport. I know that UFC's on the horizon. But if if you won the title next week and, things go the way you want to, would you be okay with not being signed right away? Are you not in a rush? What's your mindset at the moment?
Yeah, I'm definitely not in a rush. Like you say, I'm only 23, so I've got probably 10 to 15 years left of competing in MMA. So yeah, I'm definitely not in a rush. I personally think I'm ready for the UFC now. I think I could go in and compete at that level based off my skill set and the way I train. I don't think anybody in the world puts it in like I do. I'm very confident in saying that. And but yeah, if I have to defend the belt once or twice after winning it on Thursday night, then I'm very happy to do that. I'd almost like to bring Cage Warriors back to Liverpool and do a show there, or in Manchester, somewhere a bit closer to home, because my next fight's in London, which is obviously south of England. So it's a bit of a journey for all my mates and my family to get to, and it's on a Thursday night. So, I mean, I've done all right for tickets, but part of me would like to bring the belt back home and do a Cage Warriors in Liverpool and just sell it out and headline that event. I think that'd be even more good experience for me going forward into the big leagues. So we'll see what happens though. If the UFC come calling after this fight, I'm 100% going to take that opportunity as well. So see what happens.
Excellent. Any shouts you want to do before I let you go?
Yeah, I've got a load. I'll try and remember all my sponsors now for this camp because I've done very well, and I'm very fortunate to have all these people supporting me. So I've got Finer Filters, which are a company that have been sponsoring me literally since I was an amateur. Jack Harper, who's another one of my money sponsors, and without him, I wouldn't be able to train full time. So massive thanks to him. I've got Macro Chef, sort out all my meals for fight camp. Then I've got a few new ones that have come on board this camp. So I've got the Hippie Designs, which is just a small local business on Instagram. Lucky Number 13 Bar, again, a local business to where I'm from. Ivy Work Dogs, another local business. Cleanse Shoe Cleaners, which again, I like another local business that clean like high quality shoes and stuff like that. And then I have also got Strop and Bristle, which is my barber, and I need a fresh cut, so I'll be going to get that next week before the fight. I think I've covered everyone there. I hope I haven't missed anybody out. But those are only sponsors, and without them, I wouldn't be able to train full time and not work and put all my energy into fighting. So massive thank you to all them, and obviously Next Gen and Peak Performance, my two gyms that I train at for my strength conditioning and my fighting. So yeah, got them all in.
Now my turn. Thank you for taking your time to come on here, and good luck with your fight on the 30th.
Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that.